So the true cost of food is basically when we go beyond the consideration of the direct financial costs of producing food, costs such as labor, such as the cost of seeds and the different inputs. And we then start to consider other dimensions that we call externalities that are basically composed in the environmental costs, the social costs, and can be also the health costs. When you look at the Kenya case, we find that the environmental costs are actually less important than the social ones. So social costs, when you look at the aggregate of the country, are about 73% of the total external costs, so the social costs, and about 27% are actually environmental costs in the structure of external costs. If you go down to the county level, you find that about 84% of the total costs, external costs, are actually social, and the only 16% are actually environmental, which means that in Kenya, the social costs are a lot more important, particularly costs related to the forced labor. And forced labor here, I should explain, are very much related to costs associated with the fact that some workers go work in the farm and they end up staying there longer or doing things that are not, it's kind of against their will. One of the sources of this forced labor that we consider is the fact that some farmers get to the farm and get their documents retained, which makes them stay there longer than they intend, or they may actually have some wages that are back that have not been paid, so that makes them working longer the time that they would wish, and there can be other forms of coercion. Other social costs that actually are important for Kenya is the child labor as well as the underpayment. In terms of the environmental cost, the land occupation, which is the kind of the value of the alternatives that uses the value of the land that actually being cropped at this point through expansion, and the other one is soil degradation.
The true cost of the food that reaches the consumer is not just the direct costs of fertilizer, labor, and the farm for the farmer, but it should also include the cost of the impacts and mitigating the impacts that are meeting that farmer and his family. It should be included there. And so because it is never counted, then the true cost is never reflected.
We lose quite a bit of information on accounting for the hidden costs. These are like the costs provided for labor by a family itself versus the cost you incur by hiring external labor, the cost incurred by the small-scale farmers in transporting their produce to the market, and considering that we are from a very, very densely populated area, and we have this rural-urban migration, and we are really overwhelming our women farmers in terms of labor output on the farm.
We should look at empowering women and the girls on food production by producing food sustainably through the use of organic fertilizers, by making of compost manure and farmyard manure and putting them on the farm, so that the food can be produced more because now the soil is healthy. So I think we should be talking about how to grow soil first and make the soil sustainable or fit enough for to produce the abundant kind of harvest that is expected per acreage of land. So at the family level, they will be able to produce more for consumption and also enough for sale.
One measure that we would like to recommend is the use of some labor savings technologies that can actually allow farmers to increase productivity without having to expand the areas and use more labor, but also some technologies that are more intensive in use of inputs, but paying attention to the fact that the use of fertilizers and other chemicals can actually result in higher environmental costs related to the land occupation and soil degradation. So these are some of the recommendations related to that. One thing that got our attention here that is kind of sensitive is the issue about the social costs. Both the forced labor as defined as well as the child labor, which are issues that we're probably not talking about, but we need to address. So there's to be some courage and some involvement of the relevant stakeholders, being the private sector, the government, and any kind of collective actions at the farmer level to allow for a conversation to take place.